Week 3 pick'em is underway, ladies and gentlemen, as this miserable week 2, full of upsets and full of teams that lost that should have won, is finally over. But now we get a fresh new week. What's going on, everybody? I am Mac, back with another video. As always, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, follow on Instagram. Link is in the box below. These are my week 3 picks of the 2024 NFL season. As I said, terrible week in week 2, 7-9, and I would have been 6-10 if I didn't switch to Buffalo. I originally had the Dolphins beating the Bills last Thursday, but thank goodness that on Thursday morning I woke up and I had the sense to switch to Buffalo because I just thought that the Bills owning the Dolphins recently would be a factor. And I just also had the gut instinct that the Dolphins just don't play well in big games, and it worked out well. Not if you're a Dolphins fan for obvious reasons, but yeah, I would have been 6-10 if I didn't switch to Buffalo. But regardless, terrible week. As my goal for the regular season and pick 'em, my goal is to get at least 2/3 of my picks right. So for the season, I should be aiming for about 180 wins, and I should be gunning for, so like if I can get 11 wins a week, that would be good. But 18-14 through 2 weeks, barely over 55%, that's not good. So I really need I really need a bounce back week in week 3. And I really took my time. I really took a look at the injury lists, and let's just not waste any more time. These are my week 3 picks of the 2024 NFL season. Let's get it on. Kicking things off, we got Thursday Night Football between the New England Patriots and the New York Jets. This one is in MetLife, as the Pats, coming off an overtime loss to the Seahawks, they are 1-1. The Jets are also 1-1 as they got the job done over the Tennessee Titans. So Aaron Rodgers gets his official first win as a Jet. I do not count last year because he played only 4 snaps. That doesn't count as a win for Rodgers, in my opinion. But regardless, Aaron Rodgers now has a win as a Jet. So the headline for this matchup here, it's a matchup of two defenses that are really capable of being stingy and, you know, limiting you offensively. And, I'm not a big over-under kind of guy, but, if you're watching this matchup and if you are an over-under guy, I would definitely take the under for this one because I don't see a lot of points being put on the board at all. The Pats offense, you know, looking very mediocre to start the year, way better than what I thought it'd be, but still just kind of mediocre. And the Jets, I mean, it's kind of looking like it's only a matter of time before things really start to click for the Jets. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely see this being a defensive kind of game, old school kind of football, your 20-17 type of game. Obviously, the Patriots have just owned the heart and souls of the Jets over the decades, but Bill Belichick is no longer there. So Jets fans kind of feel like, the Wicked Witch is dead. Bill Belichick and Brady aren't there anymore. Now it's Gerard Mayo, and I think Jacoby Brissett is getting this start for the Patriots. So even though Brissett is a serviceable backup, and even though the Pats have had some success with him, I really don't know around this time. The Jets over the past couple of seasons have gotten off to good starts, and then they just kind of dwindled as the weeks went by. I kind of see that being the case again. I got the Jets beating the Patriots Thursday night to finally get that elusive win over the Patriots, over their nemesis, and improving them to 2-1. I think really the Patriots just played the Bengals week 1, and the Bengals in the Zach Taylor era always get off the slow starts, and they're kind of just looking like the team I expected them to be. I'm going to go with the Jets to get the job done over the Pats Thursday night. Okay, Sunday slate of games. First up, we got the New York Giants going to Cleveland to play the Browns. And before I get into this one, I just want to give a spoiler to everybody here. This is probably the first time ever on my Pick'em videos that I do not have a definitive toilet bowl of the week. Yeah, I looked at the week 3 matchups and I can't definitively find a toilet bowl this week. Even this one right here, I don't think that one's going to be that bad. I think it's just a total mismatch. But anyway, you got the Giants and the Browns going at it in Cleveland Sunday afternoon. The Giants are 0-2. New York Giants. How do you lose a game where you score 3 touchdowns, you don't allow a single touchdown to your opponent, and you lose? That game is on Brian Daboll right there. I mean, if I'm a Giants fan, I am ripping into Brian Daboll. I'm telling you that right now. Not having a backup kicker when your kicker goes down on the opening kickoff, you lose 21-18 where you score 3 touchdowns. You go, if you just had a backup kicker, you wouldn't have to go for 2 every single time you scored a touchdown. And you win that game as well. You win it 24-21. That's 6 points right there that Brian Daboll just cost the Giants and a win by not having a backup kicker. I mean, that's just basic coaching right there. That was a terrible job by Brian Daboll right there. And because of that, if the Giants won, as stupid as it is, they'd be first place in the NFC East. Instead, they're 0-2 and in last place again. The Cleveland Browns got it done over Jacksonville last week, 18-13. Deshaun Watson played better, but it still doesn't justify it. The Browns have a lot to do before you can even get in the realm of justifying that Watson trade. It's always going to hang over their heads. The defense is going to carry the load for them as they did last year. And really, I'm done giving the Giants chances, man. So much so that I'm actually locking up the Browns for this one. This is my lock of the week right here. The Giants are just such a poorly coached team, a poorly ran franchise. And ever since winning that second Super Bowl over Tom Brady and the Patriots back in 2011, it's just been a complete disaster for the Giants outside of 2016 and 2022. But the Giants have just been one of the most poorly ran franchises in the league. And the Browns, like I said in my season standings predictions, if you go back to like 2018 and you talk to Browns fans, they would have prayed to just be mediocre. Now it seems like mediocre is all the Browns can be. But I got them getting the job done handily here over the Giants. Like I said, my lock of the week right here. Next, we got possibly the toughest one for me to decide this week. We got the Green Bay Packers and the Tennessee Titans. This one is down in Nashville. So a homecoming for Malik Willis, Malik Willis, who is now the quarterback for the Packers in Jordan Love's absence with his injury, is making a homecoming down to Nashville. The guy that the Titans dumped for Mason Rudolph. So there you go right there. And right off the bat, I can tell you that this is going to be another snooze fest right here as far as offense goes. It's just going to be a defensive matchup right here. The Packers, they got the job done over the Colts 16-10. That was a big upset for week 2. I think everyone took the Colts as soon as they heard that Jordan Love got hurt, and they figured that Indy could rebound from that loss they had to Houston, but they played the Texans very well. Instead, the Colts lay a total goose egg against the Packers. So the thing with the Packers is that if their defense steps up the way they did against Indianapolis, I think that's their best chance at winning. I think that they also need to have Josh Jacobs carry the bulk once again because I really don't know what they really have in Malik Willis. And then you got the Tennessee Titans. A lot of people got mad at me for saying, oh, you're sleeping on the Titans, Mac. Oh, you're not giving Tennessee too much. You're not giving Tennessee a whole lot of credit. Well, guess what, guys? not only am I sleeping on the Titans, but I'm in a deep slumber with them right now. Will Levis has made some of the most head scratching throws I've seen from a quarterback in quite some time, and he's a turnover machine. Now, granted, maybe it could still just be part of the developmental phase, but I still think Will Levis has had ample amount of time to learn the playbook and to mold into a starter, and I just don't see that with him. So, I think the Titans need to go run heavy here with Tony Pollard in this one. I think that's probably the only way that I can see them even remotely being in this game against Green Bay, as I believe this is the Titans. No, this is their second straight home game. I was going to say it was their home opener, but regardless, this one was very tough for me to decide because it's a battle of two teams that I really don't know what direction they're headed in at this particular moment. But I'm going to go with the team who I believe can make the fewest mistakes. And to me, that's Green Bay right now. I'm going to go with the Packers to get the job done over the Titans. Typically, in situations like this, I go home team, but I just cannot pick the Titans to win a game right now. So I'm going to go Green Bay to get the job done over Tennessee here. I trust the Packers to be more, less mistake prone than Tennessee. Let me put it to you like that. So I'm going to go Green Bay. Then we got a Super Bowl 41 rematch between the Chicago Bears and the Indianapolis Colts in Indy. As the Bears are 1-1, they're coming off a tough loss last Sunday night to the Texans, but I will give the Bears defense credit. They hung in there really well with the Texans. They made CJ Stroud work, and they made that Texans offense work. So the Bears defense, man, was I wrong about their defense in my predictions early on. The Bears defense has played very well so far. But the problem with the Bears is, guess what? Their offense. What a shock. Bears offense has only produced one touchdown so far, much like our offense has only produced one touchdown so far. So that really needs to change things up for the Bears right there. Caleb Williams, I haven't been too impressed with him so far, as the Bears, they just really need to get stuff going offensively. Then you got the Indianapolis Colts. They are 0-2, and I'm very surprised that the Colts are 0-2, given how they can put points up on the board and considering, the firepower that they have, and Anthony Richardson's fully healthy now. I'm shocked that Indy's 0-2. But like I said in my previous pick, the Packers defense just held them at bay. And honestly, I could see that being the case for this matchup here, seeing how the Bears have played defensively. Like I said, the Bears, they've hung in there defensively. They gave CJ Stroud a tough time, and I think they can do the same to Anthony Richardson. I think people are really sleeping on this matchup, as I think it can be a really decent matchup right here, you know? But overall, the Bears defense, as it showed in the Texans game at times, the defense can only do so much. And even though Anthony Richardson did have 3 interceptions in that game against Green Bay, that was another big factor right there. 3 picks for Anthony Richardson. I think I'm going to lean more towards the team that's more desperate for a win, and that is the Colts right now. So I'm going to go Indy to rebound after that tough loss to the Packers and get the job done over the Colts here. At the end of the day, I think it comes down to who I trust more offensively. And like I said, the Bears' offense, and especially their offensive line, putrid right now. I'm going to go Indianapolis to get their first win of the season over the Bears. Then we got a matchup of two 2-0 teams. We got the Houston Texans heading on up to Minneapolis to play the Vikings. I could have expected Houston to start 2-0, seeing that the team that they have, and they are 2-0 right now. A thrilling win against the Colts in week 1, and then a nail-biting, a tough as nails win over the Chicago Bears last Sunday. but I absolutely did not expect the Vikings to start 2-0. That's a surprise right there. 1-1 at best was my prediction at this point right now for Minnesota, as they are just exceeding all expectations so far. How about Sam Darnold? He has been putting up some MVP type numbers to start off the season. Do I think it's going to last? No. But you got to give credit where it's due for the Vikings. They are playing incredibly well right now. And Brian Flores, the guy who should be our head coach right now, in my honest opinion, he had the perfect game plan to stop the 49ers offense right there, last week. Now, granted, the 49ers were very banged up going to that game, but Brian Flores is such a smart defensive minded guy. And I really think the Vikings have it good with him being their head with him being their head coach. I think the Vikings can be in a lot of games this year if Sam Darnold keeps this up and they just keep playing well defensively. As for the Texans, we all know what they're capable of offensively. CJ Stroud is a really good young quarterback. They did have that turnover against the Bears, but I think this is a matchup right here where the Texans defense needs to shine through because they got to fight fire with fire right here. They're in a game of chess right now with Brian Flores, and it's going to come down to who blinks first on defense. But much like the Packers and the Colts, it's going to come down to who I trust more with the ball. Who I trust more with the ball with the game on the line, you know what I mean? Like when it comes to CJ Stroud and Sam Darnold, for one last chance to win a game, who would you put more faith in? CJ Stroud is my answer. So I'm going to go with Houston to win this one, but I do think the Vikings can possibly cover the spread here. And I think the Vikings can make it a really good game. Another factor here, Justin Jefferson, he got hurt in that game against the 49ers. I don't know the extent of it, but if he's good to play, Minnesota's chances could obviously go up, but I don't know the extent of it. But regardless, I'm still going to go Houston to win this one to improve to 3-0. I just think I can see the Texans starting 3 and it's just more so I can't see the Vikings starting 3-0. But I'm going to go ahead and give Houston the win here. Next at bat, we got the Philadelphia Eagles at the New Orleans Saints. This one is down in New Orleans. Philly is 1-1. A very inexcusable loss. They had the game won on Monday night. They had it won. And then Nick Sirianni decides to get too cute on that third down and have it be a pass play to Saquon Barkley, who has led the league in dropped passes by running backs since 2021. And you just don't run it with him right there. I mean, come on, man. Stop being fancy. Run the ball with Barkley, get the first down. The very worst that happens right there is that you don't get the first down on the ground and you just go for it on fourth down. That could still burn about 40 seconds off the clock. And Atlanta, and you're still giving the Falcons a chance to win the game, but with way less time than what they had, it's not likely that they could have. It's not likely that Kirk Cousins could have drove down the field like that and won the game. Nick Sirianni squarely cost Philly that game right there. Sure, Barkley dropped the pass, but he shouldn't have even been in that situation right there. That's on Nick Sirianni right there, man. I'm telling you. And Philly's 1-1. Their pass defense is just atrocious still. But then, how about the New Orleans Saints? They are 2-0. They went down into Dallas and they just mashed the Dallas Cowboys 44-19 as the Saints in 2 weeks have scored 91 points. Wow, Clint Kubiak in his first stint as the Saints offensive coordinator, he's getting some really impressive results as Derek Carr has scored on every possession that he's been the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints so far. Obviously, that's going to break at some point, but man, you got to give the Saints credit right there. They are red, scorching hot right now on offense, and Alvin Kamara just continues to be a one-man wrecking crew. And right off the bat, right there, I think that's a huge mismatch. The Saints steaming hot offense going up against Philly's incredibly suspect defense. And Philly, as I'm recording this video, is favored to win this game. But honestly, I feel like picking the Eagles would be the upset pick. I don't trust Philly right now, so I'm going to go with the Saints. I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints to keep it rolling, improve to 3-0, and this will also be my spread of the week. I do have the Saints cooling it down a little bit on offense, but still 33-24. That's my final for this one right here. I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints to improve to 3-0. As the Eagles, they do have a history of struggling against the NFC South, more in particular the Saints and Bucs, who are ironically the Eagles' next two opponents, the Eagles and the Bucs. So it looks like Philly is just getting the NFC South over and done with. This will be 3 straight matchups that they have with the NFC South, and Philly has a tough time historically against the Saints and the Bucs. So I'm going to go with the Saints getting it done over Philly once again. All righty, now we got my matchup. Another battle of 2-2-0 teams. We got the LA Chargers coming on into Pittsburgh for our home opener, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like I said, battle of 2-2-0 teams. I'm going to try to keep it at a minimum because I want to get my pregame out by the end of the week. So the Chargers are 2-0 as they had 2 pretty convincing wins to start off the young season. A win over the Raiders in week 1 where they ran all over them, and then they pretty much duplicated that last week against the Carolina Panthers, who are the worst team in the NFL. A 26-3 win over them as J.K. Dobbins did it again. He is now the league leader in rushing. So right off the bat, that's a concerning factor for me as a Steeler fan right there because, yeah, we held Bijan Robinson to under 4 yards a carry in week 1, and the run game for Denver really wasn't a factor, but our run defense is very up and down. When our run defense is good, it's damn near unstoppable. But when our run defense is bad, it's really bad. Like every running back or mobile quarterback that we go up against, they just slip out of our fingers. We can't finish tackles. It's just, you never know what to expect with our run defense. So if I'm the Chargers and if I'm Jim Harbaugh right there, I'm immediately going to go run heavy for this game as, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's what's gotten the Chargers to be 2-0 so far. So there's it right there. However, Justin Herbert is questionable with this game as he's been dealing with an ankle injury. And Jim Harbaugh did say that the x-rays were negative. So I'm going to assume that Justin Herbert is starting this game, but let's just say that he's not going to be 100% for this game, okay? He's a little banged up, as we all know. So right there, I think that's a favor that leans in our advantage right there. And if I'm Mike Tomlin and Terrell Austin, I'm immediately loading up the front and I'm attacking Justin Herbert all day. Pretty much the same game plan with the defense. Just create a lot of pressure, press coverages, and blitzes. And I think our chances of winning are going to really increase right there, as this is a matchup of 2 of the top scoring defenses in the league. Now, as far as us on offense goes, we're 2-0 as well. 18-10 over Atlanta in week 1, 6 field goals. 13-6 over Denver last Sunday, a touchdown and 2 field goals. Yes, I do think Justin Fields should be the starter in this one, and we'll see how he plays in this one. but we have to put more touchdowns on the board. We have to find the end zone more. We're not going to win very many games, you know, only getting 62 total yards of offense in the second half. Okay. The Broncos outgained us in yardage for the whole game. All right. And like I said in my post game on Sunday, you can get away with that against a team like Denver. The Broncos aren't a very good team. The Chargers are different. If we only get that many yards that we had against Denver in the second half last week, LA's going to win. How many times have the Steelers had a double-digit lead on an opponent and Mike Tomlin's tenure as head coach, and they made the game unnecessarily closer than what it should have been? If you really wanted to hurt Steeler fans, that was even the case in Super Bowl 43. Because remember, we had a 20-7 lead on Arizona at halftime, and the Cardinals took the lead 23-20 in the fourth quarter when Fitz had that long touchdown on us, and it took Big Ben to have that legendary game-winning drive. So it was even there when that we were doing it. But yeah, point is we just can't keep relying on opponents to shoot themselves in the foot. The penalties need to be cleaned up as well. I mean, so many penalties last Sunday, man. And, like I said, you can get away with that against a bad team. You cannot get away with that against a good team, you know? So, my keys to victory for the Steelers: you got to create pressure. You got to play smart defense, find the end zone, cause turnovers as well. We know the Steelers can do that. Picked off Kirk Cousins twice in week 1, and we picked off Bo Nix twice last Sunday. So those are my keys to victory right there. But the run defense really needs to step up right here. I know Patrick Queen was hurt a little bit on Sunday, but I think this is going to be his biggest matchup right here, going up against one of his former teammates in J.K. Dobbins, going up against the Ravens' former offensive coordinator in Greg Roman. So we'll see how it goes right there. But if I'm being honest with you guys, I think this is where we get our first loss of the season. I want to believe that we can win this game, and I do think, I'm not saying we can't win, we can absolutely win this game, but a couple of factors here. I just think the Chargers have the hotter hand offensively, and they're just going to be able to tire out our defense more quicker. And secondly, the Steelers recently haven't done well in home openers. We have not had a good track record with home openers in recent years. We've lost, I think, our last 3 home openers. The last home opener I can remember that we won was back in 2020. 2021, we lost it to the Raiders. 2022, we lost it to New England. And then there was that onslaught last year that we took to the 49ers to open up the homestand. But yeah, we don't have a good track record for home openers lately, and unfortunately, I think it continues. Sorry, guys, I'm going to take the Chargers for the sake of pick'em to win this game, but I am going to cover this more in my preview that I hope to have at the end of the week. But as for my pick'em goes, Chargers over the Steelers. Of course, I'll be repping my guys to win, though. Next up, we got the Denver Broncos and the Tampa Bay Bucs down in Tampa, as the Broncos are 0-2, coming off a 13-6 loss to the Steelers, where Bo Nix did his best Kenny Pickett impression. That's what he's looking like so far. Dinking and dunking, low reward, high risk short passes. I mean, yes, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he's a rookie and that, he needs to polish things up. But what I'm seeing with Bo Nix right now is that he's just looking like Kenny Pickett 2.0. And Denver's offense is just really anemic, and they just really don't have any kind of fluidity when it comes to offense right now. Then you got the Tampa Bay Bucs. They are the total opposite. They are 2-0. They went into Detroit and they got the job done over the Lions. Detroit's been a very tough place to play over the past couple of seasons. and the Bucs got the job done in Detroit. How about that? Baker Mayfield, another strong game. The Bucs defense held Detroit to just 16 points. For reference, since 2022, the Lions averaged 32 points at home per game since 2022. Tampa Bay cut that in half last Sunday. You got to give credit where it's due for the Buccaneers, man. They're playing some great football. And this one was really close to being my lock of the week as well. But I'm not going to underestimate Denver's defense. The Broncos, they have a good defense. I wouldn't call it great, but they have a good one. And Baker Mayfield is prone, it does have a track record of playing poorly against defenses that can be physical. But I really don't think that's going to matter much. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers to improve to 3-0 and dropping Denver to 0-3. Give me Tampa Bay to get the job done over Denver. Kicking off the later slate of games on Sunday, we got the Carolina and the Las Vegas Raiders going at it in Vegas. As Carolina is 0-2, and here's a wild fact, guys. The Panthers have not led a single second in a game since last season when they beat the Falcons in December. Yeah, the Panthers are just a complete mess. They're easily the worst team in the NFL. And if Panther fans have just got to be pissed off at ownership. They are probably the most poorly ran franchise in the NFL as of right now. They are just horrendous. Bryce Young got benched, and you're looking at starting Andy Dalton in this game, So pretty much the Panthers, they gave everything away to the Chicago Bears just to bench Bryce Young, and now you're starting Andy Dalton, which, yes, Andy Dalton is an experienced quarterback. He's a veteran, but Andy Dalton ain't no winner. Let's be honest. He's a career backup. Then you got the Vegas Raiders, 1-1. How about them? They went into Baltimore, erased a 10-point deficit, and beat the Ravens in their home opener. Love it, man. I absolutely friggin' love it as a Steeler fan, man. Dropping the Ravens to 0-2. And it looks like the Raiders, they are liking playing for Antonio Pierce as they shook off that bad loss they had in week 1 to LA, and they stunned the football world. And they just got the job done here. And I'm going to give the Raiders some respect, and I say they get the job done over Carolina. Here's another goal of mine in Pick'em. I also have a goal that I want to pick every team to win at least one game this year. But I'm telling you right now, the Panthers are going to be incredibly hard to pick. They're going to be like almost impossible for me to pick a game. I really don't know if I can pick them to win one, though. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Vegas to get the job done here over the Panthers. Then we got the Miami Dolphins going on up to Seattle to play the Seahawks as the Dolphins are 1-1. They got whacked at home last Thursday night, 31-10 to the Buffalo Bills. And speaking of whack, Tua Tagovailoa suffered his 4th concussion in less than 2 years. And he has been placed on IR, and the earliest he can come back is week 8. So that's a huge blow for the Dolphins right there. And I say whack because of all the players that Tua could have ran into to suffer that concussion, it had to be Damar Hamlin. Is that not irony or what? Wow. So Tua's placed on IR. Earliest he can come back is week 8. The question is, who do the Dolphins start at quarterback? Because they just signed Tyler Huntley to be a backup, and you figure that Skylar Thompson does have playoff playing experience because he nearly led that comeback win against the Buffalo Bills a couple years ago. So it may not be as clear cut as you might think for the Dolphins quarterback situation now since Tua Tagovailoa is out of the picture temporarily, you know? So who do the Dolphins start at quarterback? That's going to be an interesting conversation here. As for the Seahawks, they are 2-0. They got it done in overtime against the New England Patriots, where Geno Smith just marched right down the field, set up the Seahawks for the game-winning field goal, and they did not disappoint. Seattle's off to a strong 2-0 start. They fly on back home, playing a severely undermanned Dolphins team right now. I'm going to go with Seattle to get the job done. I mean, I'm not going to sleep completely on the Dolphins because they still have a ton of weapons on offense, but without Tua and without that spark, it's just going to be a lot more difficult to win games. I mean, sure, they have two backups that have playing experience, but it's just not going to be the same, man. Dolphin fans are really going to be second guessing that extension that Tua got now. 53 million over 4 years, or 53 million a year for 4 years for Tua, who's a concussion prone quarterback. Definition of high risk, high reward. And here's the high risk right here. I'm going Seattle to get the job done, improving to 3-0. Then we got the Baltimore Ravens going to Dallas to play the Cowboys, as Baltimore, I love to say it as a Steeler fan, are 0-2. Everything from Isaiah Likely being a toe short in the end zone in week 1 against Kansas City, Lamar Jackson missing Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman that would have possibly won them the game. And now they blow yet another lead. The Ravens, they do have a tendency to choke as well. People say the Falcons are the premier chokers of the NFL. Hey, I counted. Since 2008, the Ravens have blown and lost 17 double-digit leads in the second quarter or later in a game. That's right, 17. The Ravens have a tendency to choke as well. That's John Harbaugh for you. The Ravens are 0-2. I love to see it, man. Absolutely love to see it. Then you got the Dallas Cowboys, who are 1-1. They got curb stomped at home by the New Orleans Saints last Sunday, 44-19. As the Cowboys have been one of the best home teams in the NFL in recent memory, but it sure wasn't the case last Sunday. As, man, I really don't know what to think. If you know me, you'd know these are my two most hated teams in the NFL. I can't stand either of these teams. I hate the Ravens and I hate the Cowboys. The difference for me, though, is I actually respect the Cowboys a little bit because of their history. I just can't stand that they get damn near every single primetime slot, almost every single late game. We don't need to see that, okay? We don't need to see that for 75% of the season, okay? It's tiresome, and I don't want it. I want to see some other teams. I can't stand the frickin' Cowboys. The Ravens, I don't need to explain it. I hate the Ravens, okay? But what I will say about this matchup is this. If there's one thing the Ravens have done well in the Lamar Jackson era, is that they have beaten up on the NFC. They've only lost one NFC game in the Lamar Jackson era, and that came against the New Orleans Saints back in 2018 in Lamar's rookie year, where Justin Tucker missed a field goal that would have tied the game against the Saints. So until that trend breaks, I'm going to go with the Ravens to get the job done over the Cowboys. I think Baltimore is desperate for a win. I think they're pissed off going to this one. Not saying the Cowboys aren't pissed off, but if you ask me who I think is just the more well-rounded team, it's the Ravens. I'm going to go with Baltimore to get the job done over the Cowboys. And, it's more so I can't see the Ravens starting 0-3 more than I can see the Cowboys being 2-1 right now. I think the Cowboys are just real banged up and they're just kind of like just mentally not there right now. I'm going to go with the Ravens to get their first win of the season. Then we got not a rivalry of the week, but we got the Injury Bowl between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams in Inglewood. Why do I say Injury Bowl? Well, how about this? CMC, we know, was on IR for the 49ers, but now they're down Deebo Samuel in this game, and George Kittle got banged up against the Vikings. He did return, but that's something to keep an eye on as well. The 49ers are roughed up in this one, and also Nick Bosa got hurt as well. So San Francisco, very banged up coming into this one. But listen to the Rams. JJ3 out. Jonah Jackson out. Cooper Kupp now has an ankle injury and he possibly needs surgery on it. So he's going to miss a lot of time as well. And Puka Nacua is on IR still. The Rams are just so depleted and they are just so bruised right now. It's looking like, yeah, they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago, but what did it cost? Everything. So it's the Injury Bowl, all right, man. It's, it's just going to be a matchup of two teams hitting each other with their crutches. That's what it boils down to. I am going to go with the 49ers to win this game, though, because I think, at least with their injuries, you have more of a clear timetable of when they're going to return. And they still are a little more healthier than the Rams coming into this one. Plus, Kyle Shanahan just seems to have Sean McVay's number. The Rams are just way too banged up. Like the injuries the Rams have are fatal. And it could possibly ruin their whole season. They're 0-2 right now. And while I expected Arizona to beat them, I didn't expect Arizona to blow them out. They beat them 41-10. Okay? The Rams are in huge trouble. They're 0-2. They're banged up. And now they're playing a team that has just owned them over the years. The 49ers, they're 1-1. They dropped a tough one to Minnesota. But at least you probably know a little bit better about the 49ers injuries. And they're still in it in the NFC West. I would not count out the 49ers just yet. So I'm going to go with San Francisco to get the job done here over the Rams. Next, we got my personal game. We got the Detroit Lions at the Arizona Cardinals. This one is down in Glendale. The Lions are 1-1 as they lost at home to Tampa Bay. The Bucs played a really good game, and the Lions are shockingly 1-1. I can't believe they dropped that game, but it is what it is. The Lions are 1-1. As I don't think Detroit played terrible. I definitely think they played well enough to win, but wow, they let that one slip through their fingers. Although if there is one thing that the Lions do best in the Dan Campbell era is that they have shown to be very resilient and they have shown that they rebound after bad performances and they play hard every single week. So the Lions got that going for them. As for the Arizona Cardinals, as I just mentioned in my Niners-Rams take, the Cardinals are 1-1. They beat the brakes off the Rams 41-10 as Kyler Murray and Marvin Jr., that is going to be a very dynamic duo in the upcoming years. Marvin Jr., breakout game, phenomenal game in his young career so far. 130 yards receiving and a couple of touchdowns on the Rams on Sunday. James Conner continues to light it up for the Cardinals down there, and Arizona is still very much in there at 1-1. The Cardinals are looking like a sleeper team so far, and the Cardinals, they are no stranger to upsets as well. They pulled off a couple of upsets last year. They beat the Cowboys last year. They beat both Pennsylvania teams last year in their venues, and they probably could have beaten Buffalo week 1 if Kyler found Marvin Jr. on a couple of plays. They could have beaten Buffalo. So the Cardinals, I mean, they may not be the most talented team in the league, but they're definitely capable of pulling off an upset or two. It's just a very interesting matchup between two teams that definitely give it their all. And that's why this is my game of the week. I see this being a very high scoring game, eye candy for NFL fans. And so I really don't know, I really don't know my biggest takeaway for this one because Detroit's defense has played well to start off the season, but if there was a red flag about Detroit's defense, it was back in week 1 where they had a 17-3 lead on the Rams, and then the Rams ended up taking the lead at one point, and then they surrendered it against Tampa Bay. So that's a red flag right there for Detroit's defense. And now they have to go up against that high-octane Cardinal offense for the time being. So this one, I feel like can definitely go either way. But not only is this going to be my game of the week, this is also my upset of the week. That's right, baby. I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals to improve to 2-1. I got them pulling off the upset over Detroit. I like what the Cardinals are doing offensively right now. I like how much heart they're playing with right now. And I think they can really give Detroit a run for their money on that defense right there. As I just mentioned with the red flags that they had, I think Marvin Jr. is just on a tear right now. James Conner's going to be too much for them to handle. So yeah, this is going to be my upset of the week. I'm taking the Cardinals to improve to 2-1 and get the job done over Detroit. Sunday Night Football, check your local listings as we got the Kansas City Chiefs at the Atlanta Falcons down in Atlanta as the Chiefs are 2-0 coming off a win over the Bengals. Yes, Bengal fans, that was defensive pass interference. Go take a look at the replay. There was contact before the ball got there. Defensive PI. That's not the reason why you lost, okay? You lost because, okay, that's only one of the reasons that you lost right there. Joe Burrow doesn't have that fumble 6 against you. You probably win that game. Okay? The game was there for you to take and you just blew it. That's all there is to it. But Kansas City's 2-0. I will say though, Mahomes didn't play his best. He threw an interception. I think he may have thrown another one. I know he threw at least one though. But yeah, Mahomes didn't play his best. And I think for the Chiefs, something to look out for them right here is that Isaiah Pacheco fractured his fibula and he's going to miss some time right there. So that might be a concerning factor for the Chiefs right there. But regardless, I mean, as long as guys like Xavier Worthy and maybe Rashee Rice and Kelsey get stuff going for Kansas City, I think they're going to be fine as long as Mahomes is there. They're 2-0. I mean, come on. How many times have we seen this with the Chiefs? Atlanta's 1-1. They went into Philly and beat the Eagles. And as I said, dumb play calling by Nick Sirianni. Just run the ball with Barkley. You get the first down and you win. And Kirk Cousins just drove down the length of the field, just roasted Philly's secondary for the game-winning touchdown. So Atlanta coming off a little bit of an emotional victory, right? Coming off an emotional victory right there. I don't see lightning striking twice right here. I'm going to go Kansas City to improve to 3-0. I will say I do think the Falcons' passing offense is going to give the Chiefs a hard time on defense. But in the end, I just go with the hotter hand. I just go with the more experienced team. That's Kansas City right now, despite them being down Isaiah Pacheco. I don't think it's going to matter too much. I'm going to go Kansas City to get the job done over Atlanta. Then we got two Monday Night Football games. First up, we got the Jaguars and the Bills, the Josh Allen Bowl. That's what I'm going to call it. Josh Allen of the Jaguars, Josh Allen of the Bills. Jacksonville's 0-2, and they're in huge trouble right now, as that slump that they had to close out the season looking like it's bleeding into this year, and they just can't seem to get anything right. They had a safety against the Browns on Sunday. Trevor Lawrence has been very underwhelming to start off the year, and Jacksonville, even though they have won the past couple matchups against the Bills, you're never quite sure with them right now. I've been saying on hand that Trevor Lawrence is very overrated, and so far, he's been proving my point. Jacksonville's off to an 0-2 start, and if they fall to 0-3, you can pretty much count them out. Buffalo is 2-0, picking up where they, start doing what they do best, just get off to a hot start, and, they just look like probably the best team in the NFL right now, aside from maybe the Chiefs and Saints. Buffalo is playing extremely well. They're a team that I really underestimated because of the offseason they had, but Buffalo's playing really well. They're still a really well-oiled machine on offense. And I just don't see Jacksonville making it three in a row over the Bills. I got the Bills snapping their losing streak against Jacksonville and getting the job done over the Jags here. I like the Bills in this matchup. I think their offense is just too much for Jacksonville. And with the Jags, the way that they've lost games so far, I know it's only 2 games. Now you got to go up against a playoff favorite and who should be a Super Bowl contender as well. Yeah, I'm going Buffalo to get the job done here. Wrapping up week 3, we got the Washington Redskins and the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati, as Washington is 1-1. They won by not even scoring a touchdown. That's now 2 teams this season that have won games by not scoring a touchdown, the other being us in week 1 against Atlanta. But yeah, Washington kicked 7 field goals against the Giants and won, while the Giants scored 3 touchdowns and lost. That's an NFL first, by the way. Yeah, first time in NFL history that a team lost a game by scoring 3 or more touchdowns and not allowing their opponent to score a single touchdown. Wow. So Washington's 1-1, but like I say with us, you're not going to win very many games if you can't find the end zone consistently, and you have to have your defense bail you out or have the other team just consistently mess up. That's all there is to it. As for the Bengals, they're 0-2. They are 1-11 in the first 2 weeks of the season under Zach Taylor. 3rd consecutive season that they've started 0-2, and now the 4th time. It's now the 5th time in the last 6 seasons that they've started 0-2. So, yeah, I mean, sure, the Bengals have been resilient in recent years in overcoming an 0-2 deficit, but you can only get away with that for so much. As the Bengals have a large spread for them in this game, we all know the reason why. It's because the way Washington won and the way that the Bengals overcome adversity starting off 0-2. Jamar Chase, another hissy fit for him. He took off, he complained to the referee for an unsportsmanlike conduct. And, of course, the fumble 6 by Joe Burrow. And, of course, I got to say again, Bengals fans, that's defensive PI. Okay, there was contact before the ball was there. That's defensive PI. It's not the NFL rigging it for the Chiefs. It's you guys messing up once again. If there's one thing the Bengals do well, it's taking penalties at the worst possible time. Okay? That's just what the Bengals do. Regardless, I'm going to say Cincinnati gets their first win of the season. Washington's defense is just very crippled, and against a Bengals offense that's more than capable of going off, I don't see how Washington pulls away with this one. I'm going to go with the Bengals to get the job done and get their first win of the season. That'll do it for week 3. Hopefully I have a way better week than I did in week 2. Let me know what you instinct down in the comments below. And I am Mac checking on out for the day. Have a good one, everybody.